So Halloween is coming up. So today I'm going to show you kind of a fun monster, dragony, kind of, you interpret it how you will, but a design using our Stiletto full cover tips today. I'm going to just do one to show you and then I'll finish out the whole design for you. So on my first one, I'm going to come in with my 180 grit buffer and then go through and just lightly remove the shine. And then I kind of just dust it off on my towel a little bit. So I'm going to start with a coat of protein bond after we remove that shine. So for the base of our design today, I'm going to work with our ManiQ Black 101. I'm just going to do a full cover color on this. We'll pop that in the light for a quick 30-second freeze, and then we'll do our second coat. Okay, our first coat is cured. We're going to go through and just do another second coat. And again, this one will cure for a 30 to 60 second freeze or full cure. Now what I'm going to use is, I actually am going to use a black tile. For this design, I'm going to be using our white cream clay, and this one is called Secret Menu. This is our bright white. And when I'm working with white paints, I like to use the black tile because that way I can actually see where my paint is. If you're working on a white tile, it's a little bit harder to see. So we're gonna take a little bit of our cream clay, and I'm just using a makeup sponge or eyeshadow applicator. And I'm gonna start by just kind of loading up my applicator with a little bit of that paint. And I'm gonna start up by my cuticle area and just kind of pressing, just doing little dabs, and then going kind of in between each so that they almost layer on top of each other. And then I'm going to just basically work down the whole nail. Just kind of reloading my applicator as I go, creating kind of a layered look. And don't worry if they're not perfectly straight, that's not how they're gonna be. Just kind of working in between each, kind of creating that texture, creating those scales look. I'm liking how that's looking so far. I'm going to get that into my light and I'm going to freeze that. I'd like to do about a 30-second freeze. Quick 10 seconds if you're doing, just one nail, but if you're doing a full hand or a full set, go ahead and just 30 seconds and work on the other hand while that one's in the light. Okay, so that first layer is cured. Now at this point, I just kind of take a look at it and see, do I want to fill in anymore? Do I feel like I need maybe a second coat of the white on any areas? If I do, I can definitely come back in, maybe add a little bit in places, maybe darken up some of those areas a little bit. But because I added just a couple more spots in there, I'm just going to freeze that again for another 30 seconds. Okay, so we've got our scales cured out. So I'm going to be using Frog Opera, which is kind of a bluish tealish, and then Fickle Pickle, which is kind of a yellow. So I'm going to start with a coat of the yellow, and combined together, these are going to give me a little bit more of a green kind of a look. So again, just a quick 30-second freeze in between. Okay, so our layer of Fickle Pickle, that yellow one, is set. So we're going to come in with a coat of Frog Opera, and you can see it's starting to get a little bit more of that green that I'm looking for. Cure that again for 30 seconds. And I think on this one I want it just a little bit deeper green, so I'm going to do a second coat of Frog Opera. All right, get that back in there again for a 30-second freeze. Okay, so my layer of green is set. I'm going to come in with a coat of my matte top coat now. We're going to kind of seal this part of the design in with that matte, and then again we'll pop this back into the light for a 30-second freeze. Okay, so our matte top coat is set. I'm actually going to still leave that tacky surface of it on there because I'm going to add layers to it, and I want to make sure that tacky surface is still there so our layers are going to adhere really well. So I've got my little painting tile or my painting palette ring here. I'm going to use a little bit of our Fizz from the Mission Control. Now I've switched from the cream clay to the Mission Control. It's a personal preference. For kind of detailed work, I really like the Mission Control gel paints versus the cream clays, but again, you can use either one. So we're going to create a little dragon eyeball here. So I'm going to take a little bit of our Fizz, pick that up, and I'm going to just put that onto my palette here. So I'm going to kind of load up my brush a little bit here, and then we're going to create a little bit of an eyeball. So I'm just going to start on the side of the nail, touching my brush down and getting a nice curved shape there. Same thing on the bottom side, again touching my brush down and getting a nice curved shape. I'm going to bring this all the way across the nail here. Now, if your line isn't perfect on the inside, don't worry, that's going to get covered up. We just want to make sure that we have a good crisp outline kind of on the outer line of the white here. Alright. And you guys can kind of see I'm a little bit shaky here today. Probably had a little too much caffeine, but that's really why I anchor my fingers really well, so that it helps to keep me from shaking. If I'm up here and just trying to go in like that, I'm definitely going to really shake. But if I anchor my fingers and kind of put some pressure into my fingers a little bit more, I'm going to get a little bit better kind of stability. I think I've got that outside line how I like it. I'm going to get that into the light. We'll go ahead and freeze that, I would say for 10 to 30 seconds with the mission control. We're going to actually create a 3D eyeball rather than just a flat surface. So I'm going to come in with my clear Sculptor in the precision tube, and I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit right into that center opening. A little bit of an air bubble in there, that's okay. We'll figure that out. And again, just bringing that through. A little bit of that clear Sculptor is going to go a long way, so don't try to overdo it. So we had that little bubble, I just wanted to pop that. And I'm just going to kind of start to guide my gel into that shape. And because I've got that outline of the white, it's going to kind of work to hold that together into the shape that I want it. I'm going to give it just a second here to kind of soften into place, and then I'm going to get that into the light, and again we're going to freeze that for 30 seconds. We're going to use a little bit of our chrome powders, and I'm going to use the yellow one, but to get more of a gold look, I'm going to put a coat of our ManiQ Black 101, that same color that we started the nail with. I'm going to do just a little bit of that to really get that gold color to pop out with our chrome. With my detail brush here, I can pick up a little bit more of that black, and I'm actually going to come in and do some detail work so I don't have to worry too much if this isn't perfect, but I just want to make sure that I have covered all of the areas where I'm going to put the chrome. Okay, looks good. Again, we're going to pop that into the light for a 30-second freeze. Okay, so our black has cured. Now you can see it still is, it's not like that really good solid full coverage, but that's okay. It's got enough of a black base to where we can do our chrome. Now, because I want that really good smooth chrome finish, I'm going to come in with my ultimate finish. And this is what our chrome is going to adhere really well to. Put a little bit on my painting palette here and come around the edges, again making sure that all of the areas that I want the chrome to adhere to have that ultimate finish on. And then again, I'm going to take just a couple of seconds to let that just kind of settle so that there's no streaks in it or lines from my brush, and then we'll put that in for another 30. Ultimate finish is cured. I'm going to come in with my chrome palette, and again we're going to use that yellow. It's going to give us more of a gold hint over our eyeball. I'm just going to make sure to cap all of the areas where I want that chrome, and then I just turn my applicator over and just kind of dust off any of that extra, so that way I don't get those little sparkles in there from that extra powder. I'm just going to pop that back in the light. Quick 10-second freeze is really just all you need. Up to 30 seconds is fine, but just to kind of set it into place, the 10 seconds is just fine. Alright, so now we're going to come back in with, again, our mission control, but this time I'm going to use the black, the overdrive. I'm going to take a little bit of that on my palette. So I'm going to pick up a little dollop on the end of my brush. You can see it's kind of just a little drop right there. I'm going to just start that kind of in the center of the nail here. And I'm just going to start to kind of drag that down. And drop that dollop down. Just kind of spreading it out just a little bit, widening it out, and then just kind of dragging it almost to a point. And however you want to create your eye, whatever kind of look you want to go for it. You want a bigger eyeball, bigger center to that eyeball, go ahead. But I think I like how this one is turning out. Just gonna pull that just a little bit more to a point. Okay, so I think I like how that's looking. Again, we're going back into the light. This one, again, just a quick 10 to 30 second freeze is fine. Okay, so at this point, now we're just gonna kind of do a little bit of detail work. I'm gonna add just a little bit of black, just a really thin line, just kind of outlining that gold. Fill in that little bit of space right there. Going all the way around my gold. Okay, so I think I like how that looks. Again, we're gonna pop that back in just for another 10-second freeze. Okay, one more detail. I'm gonna come in with just a little bit more of that sheer yellow, that Pickle. And I don't want that really stark white around the eyeball. I want a little bit more of a yellow tone to it. So we're just gonna take a little bit of that yellow and just kind of coat that white line that we've already got. And you don't have to be too precise with this because we've already got yellow on that background. It's just gonna blend in there, so I'm not really worried if I'm perfectly covering the white. Let's go ahead and get that in the light again for another 10 to 30 seconds just to set it. And to finish our nail now, I'm just gonna come back to our ultimate finish. So we've already matte top coated the green area. Now I just wanna make sure that I'm top coating the eyeball coming through, and once we get that top coat on the chrome, that's where you're really gonna see that chrome look. Okay, so I'm gonna take, again, just a little bit kind of to detail all the way around that eyeball. Okay, so I think we are good there. Let's go ahead and get that back into the light. I'm gonna do a final cure of 60 seconds. It's gonna cure everything, and then I'll show you the final look. Okay, so our nail is fully cured. Now the ultimate finish doesn't need a tacky surface removed, but that matte finish does. So I'm gonna use a little bit of my ManiQ cleanse. Make sure everything is nice and matte looking on there. So I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna finish this set. So what I'm gonna do on the rest of the nails is kind of a similar pattern as to what we did underneath, but then I'm also gonna add in a full covered chrome nail, but I'm gonna use two different colors of chrome. I'm gonna use that gold that we used on the eyeball, and then I'm also gonna add in the green and do just kind of a two-tone. So if you look at it from one direction, it's gonna look more of that gold. From the other direction, it's gonna look a little bit more of the green. So I'm gonna show you that final look when I'm done, and I hope you guys love it.
Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe the channel now. Subscribe to the channel.